Good afternoon and thanks for joining me for News at 2. We are live on GTV and GBC News. My name is Clara Mlano. To our first story. The Ghana Health Service is to take delivery of 499,000 doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccines today, Saturday, August 7, 2021. This is to initiate a first dose of vaccination for many in the country who have not yet been vaccinated. The consignment is from the U.S. government. GBC News will bring you a full report of this development in our subsequent bulletins. And in Parliament yesterday, the minority in Parliament has called on the President to sanction the Minister for Health, Mr. Kweku Agyeman-Manu, and relieve him of his post for wrongfully contracting a middleman, Sheikh Damoud Al Maktoum, in a deal to purchase the Sputnik V vaccines. The minority leader, Mr. Haruna Idrisu, holds the view that the minister failed to abide by the laws of the country and to uphold the public trust. Speaking on the floor of Parliament, Mr. Haruna Idrisu said the minority will apply all legal means to ensure the minister is discharged.
When he appeared before the 9-member committee to probe the Sputnik V vaccine procurement, the Minister for Health, Mr. Kweku Agyeman-Manu, admitted that he did not comply with the requirements of Article 181, Clause 5 of the Constitution. Neither did he seek prior approval from the Public Procurement Authority before signing the contract with the middleman Sheikh Al Maktoum. He claimed that he was not aware of any payment made to the middleman for the 15,000 doses of Sputnik V vaccines. But in the recent budget review, the Minister for Finance, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, revealed that $2,850,000 had been paid to the contractor. The committee therefore recommended that the Minister for Finance take steps to recover the cedi equivalent of the $2,850,000 being the cost of the Sputnik V vaccines. But when the motion for the approval of the report was moved, the minority said the health minister failed to respect the laws of the country and his office.
We as a committee, after carefully looking at all these submissions, we took a position that yes, it was the exigencies of the situation compelled him to take action. But that notwithstanding, in future he should find time, no matter even if it is a day, he should at least engage the health committee of Parliament. Get the health committee engaged, because we realize that if the health committee had been engaged, if Parliament had had a broader engagement on this matter, all the brouhaha would not have arisen.
The minister wrote to the Attorney General after he executed the contract. And the Attorney General wrote to the minister responsible for health on the 12th of April. Whatever is provided has no effect on the execution of the contract. It will interest you to know that the minister ignored the Public Procurement Authority before, during the execution of the contract.
The minority says the health minister must be sacked. Members on both sides had to vote on the issue. The second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Andrew Amakwe-Siama, who could not make a decision, deferred his ruling on the matter to when the House resumes sitting. Leaders of both sides of the House reacted to the decision by the Speaker.
If you look at the recommendations of the committee, they are not telling us to maybe pass a vote of censure in the minister. They are not saying that. In fact, they are not making any definitive findings and recommendations to Parliament. Speaking for myself and for the majority, I thought the Speaker should have put a question. But once the Speaker makes a ruling, you can't question that.
We are worried because look at how much money we have spent, close to 20 billion, and yet we cannot boast that at least our population of up to even 1 million Ghanaians have been fully vaccinated. I believe that what has happened in Parliament, we in the minority, the truth must rest with us. And oversight remains our primary responsibility. We are just waking them up. Every other day we will exercise this. And therefore when we come back, we will not abandon this matter. We may, if the President does not revoke the appointment of the Minister for Health, we will request him to a vote of censorship to consider that matter.
Meanwhile, the House adjourned sine die.
Now to some labor issues. The National Labor Commission has secured an interlocutory injunction against UTAG, restricting its leadership, officers, members, agents and servants from continuing with the industrial strike. UTAG is to comply with the Commission's directive dated Monday, August 2. A court order signed by Madam Edem Erica Agbubli, Deputy Registrar, said, taking the urgency of the matter into account, the order was to be served on the respondents by substituted service through the electronic medium via the radio, television and other current electronic means. The injunction is for 10 days, after which the applicants was to go back on notice. The NLC, through its executive secretary, Mr. Fusu Asamoah, filed on August 5, 2021 in support of motion an expert for an order for interlocutory injunction. Let's speak with Mr. Dr. Samuel Nkuban, the president of the University of Ghana chapter of UTAG, on the related issue. Good afternoon, sir. Dr. Samuel Nkuban, good afternoon, if you can hear me. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Since we don't have Dr. Samuel Nkuban on the line, we move to other stories. The Ministry of Health has developed a health technology assessment strategy that will ensure that the country gets value for money and promote equitable, efficient and quality health system. Implementation of the strategy, which began last year, spans a 5-year period. Reports by Sarah Fori.
Of the wildlife season makes it illegal for anyone to hunt, capture or destroy any wildlife except grass cutter, locally known as akranteer, which can be done only under a license issued by the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission. During the season, the Wildlife Division takes the opportunity to create awareness on the conservation and protection of wildlife in a bid to sustain animal species population for socio-economic benefits. The Executive Director of the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission, Mr. Bernard Asamoah Boateng, observed that Ghanaians hunt wildlife indiscriminately because they underestimate the importance of wildlife to the environment.
The closed season is among the various and crucial measures instituted to regulate the utilization and sustainable management of wildlife resources in Ghana.
The Municipal Chief Executive of New Jabin South, Mr. Isaac Apau JC, urged the public to protect animals in their localities and further called for a ban on the hunting and intake of bushmeat during the closed season. A member of the Bushmeat Sellers Association, Mr. Yawasari, noted that members of the association are only buyers of bushmeat and not the hunters. Hence, the Wildlife Division ought to engage the hunters and sensitize them on how
to hunt professionally. He mentioned some challenges the association is facing in acquiring the bush meat. The theme for the 2021 close season observation of wildlife is Sustainable Wildlife in Ghana.
And that was the launch of the cruise season on wildlife in Koforidua. We take you back to our earlier story. The National Labour Commission has secured an interlocutory injunction against UTAG, restricting its leadership, executive officers, members, agents and servants from continuing with the industrial strike. UTAG is to comply with the Commission's directive dated Monday, August 2. A court order signed by Madame Edem Erica Gubli, Registrar, said, taking the agency of the matter into account, the order was to be served on the respondents by substituted services through the electronic medium via the radio, television and other current electronic means. And we have the president of the University of Ghana chapter of Utah, Dr. Samuel Inkuban, on the line to update us on the issues. Good afternoon, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon and good afternoon to your listeners.
Right, you have been ordered to go back to work. What's your reaction?
Well, we have the view that the National Labour Commission is quite too hasty in taking some of the actions that it's taking. We are of a considered view that the National Labour Commission ought to deal with amicably resolving issues between labor and government amicably through dialogue and not by rushing to the courts to secure injunctions in this manner. The point is that on Tuesday, the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations engaged us and the government side. Unfortunately, that meeting ended in a deadlock. At the same time, the National Labour Commission had invited us to meet with them on Thursday. And so on the basis of what transpired on Tuesday, UTAG sent a letter to the National Labour Commission indicating that we needed to revert to our constituents, in other words, general memberships of the various campuses, to let them be in the picture as to what had transpired at the ministries. And so we're unable to meet the National Labour Commission on the Thursday as scheduled, and that we were available in the coming week to meet with them and to hear whatever it is that they were going to have to discuss with us. Let me mention that, of course, from the middle of June, when we took this decision that by close of July, if we hadn't concluded negotiations, we would take this action. We had notified the National Labour Commission duly. Middle of July, whilst we were not seeing the end of in sight, we still reminded the National Labour Commission that government's feet-dragging attitude doesn't seem to suggest that we could get to the end of the road, and that by July ending, if they didn't, then we would have to take this decision that we've taken. Fast forward, of course, we had a meeting on Friday last week at which it was clearly demonstrated that government was not interested in our matter on grounds that the proposals that we had made, offers were not made to us. Rather that where were we expecting the government to get money from to take care of our needs. And so for us, there was no negotiation ongoing. And also that we have withdrawn teaching-related services and we are at work doing other services, providing other services that we haven't employed to provide, which include research and extension services, administration within the halls and the departments and so on and so forth.
Right.
And so we don't see where the Labour Commission is coming from as regards this. So what we've also done is to refer to our colleagues who have some legal background to advise as to how we proceed on this matter.
Right. You've already suspended some works, that is examinations. KNUST and the University of Ghana have suspended that. With such suspension is in place and with the injunction, what is your next line of action?
Well, of course, for our general memberships across the campuses, in fact, all of us have engaged with our campuses, and the indication is that When we are not on strike, we have only suspended teaching-related services, and we are continuing with the suspension of the teaching-related services, which include teaching, setting exams, invigilating exams, marking scripts, processing exam results, and all of those that border on teaching. And so that suspension holds in as far as we have not received favorable response from government as regards our conditions of service.
Yeah, Dr. Ekuban, continue.
Yes, so that is the point. I'm saying that all of the campuses have engaged their constituents.
Okay.
And we are unanimous about the fact that we are continuing with the suspension of teaching-related services.
All right.
And so as it stands, that is the point. And to such time that we have a favorable response from government as regards our demands in relation to our conditions of service.
Right. This will certainly affect your academic calendar.
Very much so. The academic calendar has already been distorted by the COVID situation. Right. And it was our expectation that we wouldn't have to reach this point, given that it's as far back as 2018 that we tabled our condition of service negotiations document with government. We are hoping against hope that even if it delayed, by close of 2019, we would have gotten through. Unfortunately, COVID came through, and we have been relatively patient under the circumstance. And the whole of 2020 has come to pass without any meaningful engagement. And 2021, we started having some engagements, and only for that to also break down. And it's coming to the point where, given the deplorable nature of our conditions, we are unable to continue some of the responsibilities that we do have to our universities and our country. Also that, of course, if this situation persists with over a 21-day period, then it will mean that the universities statutorily will have to close down, and at that point, the academic calendar as scheduled will have to be shifted.
Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel Ekuban, for speaking with us on the Labour Commission's injunction on your strike action. And we have been speaking with Dr. Samuel Ekuban on the National Labour Commission's injunction against UTAG, restricting its leadership members and others from continuing with the industrial action. Moving on, management of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, has suspended temporarily the end of the second semester examinations scheduled for the 2020-2021 academic year. This comes in the wake of the ongoing strike by the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, which has affected academic activities in public universities nationwide. A statement issued by the university, signed by Mrs. Margaret GC, the KNUST Deputy Registrar Academic Affairs, said a new schedule for the examinations would be released at the appropriate time. The examinations were originally scheduled for August 9 to August 20th this year. Members of UTAG, as well as the Senior Staff Association of the KNUST, has since Monday, August 2, laid down their tools in demand for improvement in their conditions of service. This follows the unsuccessful negotiations between the members and the government, a development which has impacted negatively on academic and other administrative activities. The president of the KNUST branch of UTAG, Professor Charles Malfo, said negotiations for improvements in the welfare of the university teachers, which commenced some 2 years ago, had overly been delayed with no end in sight. He said UTAG members could no longer be taken for granted, adding that the university teachers would not come back until their grievances had been addressed by government. Moving on, the Ministry of Health has developed a health technology assessment strategy that will ensure that the country gets value for money and promote equitable, efficient and quality health system. Implementation of the strategy, which began last year, spans a 5-year period. A report by Cyril Furi.
The Health Technology Assessment Strategy is a tool used to prioritize health interventions so as to allocate resources in a cost-effective manner according to one's budget. Developing the strategy is therefore in line with the National Health Policy and that of national medicines. Both policies recommend that the assessment strategy is used to inform the pricing and procurement of medical technologies such as medicines, vaccines, devices, and procedures as to whether they provide additional benefits compared with current practices. The strategy focuses on 9 key areas such as governance, resource mobilization and funding, collaboration and partnerships, communications and dissemination, capacity building and resourcing and tooling, among others. Ghana's implementation of the strategy makes it a regional leader in health technology assessment. At a ceremony in Accra to unveil the strategy, the WHO pledged to provide technical support throughout the implementation period. The Deputy Minister for Health, Alhaji Mahama Asei Seini, said the assessment strategy will ease the financial burden on the National Health Insurance Scheme. The Director of Technical Services at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Martha Jansa wrote to successfully implement the Health Technology Assessment Strategy. The co-chair of the Health Technology Assessment Technical Working Group, Professor Justice Novinho, disclosed that data collection remains a challenge.
Data has been a big issue for Ghana because, as you can imagine, sometimes we need to talk to patients to pick data from them to understand the benefits of the medicines that they take, the vaccines, the treatments, and other technologies that they use, the X-ray and the others. We don't have a national data system that has ready estimates for a lot of these. And I know that it's one of the strategies we are working on to determine how we can build a data system. So the strategy will not be changed, but will only be reviewed after 5 years and updated.
The Technical Working Group for the Health Technology Assessment Strategy already completed its analysis for hypertension and the costing for COVID-19 vaccine deployment, while those for diabetes and Burkitt's lymphoma are ongoing. Cyril for GBC News, Accra.
Yes.
Following legislation to restrict exportation of soya beans from Ghana, government has followed up with a committee to issue permits for the particular item. Shortages in soya beans and maize are at the heart of high costs of poultry feed, often translated into high overhead costs for poultry farmers.
Passage for soya bean export is set to be constricted as exporters of the commodity from Ghana must now obtain permits. Whilst government says the move does not mean a complete ban on export of soya beans from Ghana, a tighter regulation is required to retain a fair percentage of the commodity used in formulating quality poultry feed. Ghanaian poultry farmers are smarting under high operational costs, partly due to shortages in essential ingredients used for the feed, maize and soya bean. The Soybean Export Permit Committee, chaired by the Chief Director of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Mr. Patrick Yaunimo, has mandates to check flaws in the trading of soya beans. It is a collaborative effort of Ministries of Trade and Industry and Food and Agriculture, which have oversight responsibility for the issue. The two Ministers of State had a word for the committee.
Unlicensed exporters who, unbeknown officially to us, had been exporting from Tema. The poultry farmers are always on my back to say that there are all these containers going out and they don't have enough for their business. So the pressure actually came from them that we should do something to regulate the market. Not to ban it, because, as I said, potentially we could do 1 million metric tons. And as you know, the world price of soya is higher than that of maize. And therefore, potentially we could be earning a lot of foreign exchange from export of soya in its processed form and even in the raw form of the beans.
The yield per acre of soya bean and the other crops that have been targeted by the Planting for Food program was very low. And so it is therefore not by accident, or it's not surprising that there has been a significant yield in the production of soya bean. Now, this was important for us, not for the purposes of soya bean as a crop and by itself, but also as a critical ingredient for the production of feed, particularly for the poultry industry and even for the fisheries subsector.
The move was welcomed by the president of the Poultry Farmers Association of Ghana, Mr. Victor Opong-Ejei.
Soya bean is a very important component so far as poultry is concerned. We have our source of protein from the soya bean. So it is very important. If you don't have it, there's no way you can prepare your feed. But what is happening is that the soya bean that we produce in Ghana is exported. Then we go in to buy, to import some into the country, which is very costly.
The construction of the over 39 million euros tunnel water treatment plant in Navrongo, capital of the Kassina Nankana municipality of the Upper East region, is progressing steadily. The plan is to develop a water supply system to cater for the people in the region, particularly residents in Navrongo, Paga, Bolgatanga. Phase 1 of the project is about 96% complete, while Phase 2 is about 66% complete.
Financing for the construction of the tunnel water treatment plant in Navrongo in the Upper East region is by the Ghana and Dutch governments. The two-phase project started in September 2018. In the first phase, which is now 96% complete, a new water treatment plant in Tunnel and Navrongo with a capacity of 20.500 cubic meter per day is being constructed, with a raw water intake at the Tunnel Dam, including a pumping station and a raw transmission pipeline. The tunnel water treatment plant will be operational, producing water in September 2021. The continuation of the existing via water treatment plant in the Bongo district of the Upper East region will continue once the tunnel water treatment plant is fully operational. The main transmission lines to Navrongo, Bolgatanga and Paga for a total of 67 kilometers are also completed. 18 kilometers of distribution lines have been installed under Phase 1, with one elevated reservoir in Navrongo with a capacity of 600 cubic meters. A booster pumping station in Paga has been constructed, while all existing reservoirs in the system have been rehabilitated. When the Deputy Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Mr. Amidu Chinia Isahaku, paid a working visit to the construction site, the project coordinator of the tunnel water treatment plant, Madame Annelise Dibol, gave details about the progress of work.
The main part is always in Phase 1. Phase 1 is the treatment plant, the intake, the reservoir DA, some distribution 18 kilometers and the main transmission pipelines. Phase 2 is some 53 additional kilometers of distribution, the reservoir in Zuarungu, one transmission line to Zuarungu, and the 4,800 house connections. So Phase 1 is now completed for 96%, Phase 2, 66%. 350,000 people will be served by this treatment plant.
At the existing via water treatment plant in the Bongo district, Madame Annelise also spoke about the rehabilitation works her outfit is expected to carry out.
This plant is 70 years old, and we are currently rehabilitating the plant. That means the defective components, we are replacing them. The components which are worn out, we are also changing them. So in order that this plant can survive another 50 years.
After the tour of the water treatment plants, the Deputy Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, gave a thumbs up to the work done so far. The Upper East Regional Minister, Mr. Stephen Yakubu, described the construction of the Tono Water Treatment Plant and the rehabilitation of the Via Water Treatment Plant as timely.
A huge project that has come to us. I think that since the contractor is meeting the timelines, it is good news.
The construction of the water reservoir at Zuarungu in the Bogatanga East District is progressing steadily. The project is to build a new water system on the Tono irrigation dam and make available 2 million gallons of treated water daily for Bolgatanga, Navrongo, Paga, and Zuarungu and other communities. The contractor is Dennis Engineers and Construction BV of the Netherlands.
You are watching the news at live on GTV and GBC News. We are back after this break to stay.
Are you ready? It's heat hot and we are serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style, keeping you on track and updated on
news making the headlines,
how to navigate traffic,
what's up with the weather,
your health check,
getting you up to speed on
lifestyle,
sports,
world of showbiz, what's hot and what's not.
It's our date in the morning just for you, with the team you can trust.
It's breakfast weekdays at 6 a.m.
Don't be late.
Entities, high net worth individuals, and the general public to the HR Role Model Awards on Friday, August 27, 2021 at the Accra City Hotel at 7 p.m. Strictly by invitation. Interested participants may reserve corporate tables. Categories for the HR Role Model Awards 2021 include Best Employee Wellbeing Strategy, Best HR Technology Strategy, Best Learning and Development Strategy, Best Employee Experience Strategy, and Best Employee Engagement Strategy, among others. You may call 055-835-7200 or 050-579-5339 for further information. HR Role Model Excellence Award, the power of HR. Official media.
Identify partner institutions to drive the Ghana Enterprises Association's access to finance initiatives to help expand the agency's funding portfolio and global reach. The committee must also provide inputs into national policies related to MSMEs' access to finance. The committee's mandate, which shall be in force for 1 year, has representatives from the Ministries of Trade and Industry and Finance, Association of Bankers, Bank of Ghana, Universal Bank and ARB Apex Bank, among others. The GEA's Act 2000, Act 1043, which transformed the NBSSI, expanded the mandate of the institution as the apex body for the MSME sector. It is expected to facilitate the access by MSMEs to financial and non-financial resources, including credit facilities and professional services, machinery, equipment, and raw material inputs from domestic and international sources. The Chief Executive, GEA, Mrs. Kosi Yankee Ayer, said the agency will play its role to support MSMEs to access innovative long-term financing packages for their sustainable development, also encouraging venture capital arrangements to inject capital into viable startups and MSMEs is critical to the GEA. This means the agency was able to compile a finance directory of all financial institutions in Ghana, including the various products they offer to help bring to the doorstep of MSMEs their availability. Similarly, under the support of MasterCard Foundation Young Africa Works, the agency has developed over 10 innovative and competitive financial products to help address the financial hurdles of MSMEs. Ratings agency Standard & Poor's is projecting the working age population of sub-Saharan Africa is set to more than double by 2050 to become the largest in the world, offering unprecedented opportunity for economic growth. In a report, the ratings agency estimated that growth in the working age population would add up to 3 percentage points to the average annual GDP growth for the next 10 years across key economies in the subcontinent.
Poor's said countries in sub-Saharan Africa are now experiencing the most significant demographic transition in their history. Unprecedented decreases in fertility rates, lower child mortality, and increases in life expectancy would have a crucial importance for the region's economic outlook for decades to come. The report highlighted that fertility rates have been in steady decline, falling to 4.6 children per woman over a lifetime in 2019 from 6.3 in 1990. The UN has projected that fertility rates will continue to fall, with some sub-Saharan African countries approaching a natural replacement rate of 2.1 by 2050. By comparison, average fertility rate in Southeast Asia and Latin America are expected to be 1.85 in 2050, down from 2.2 in 2020, while the Middle East and North Africa is the only region expected to be above the natural replacement rate by 2050 at 2.5. As well as job creation and investment in human capital through education, S&P emphasized the importance of investment in fixed assets as capital deepening increases labor productivity, creating more possibilities for higher added value production.
That was business. There's more news ahead. To stay.
Serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style, keeping you on track and updated on
News making the headlines. How to navigate traffic.
What's up with the weather?
Your health check. Getting you up to speed on
lifestyle,
sports. What are showbiz, what's hot and what's not.
It's our date in the morning just for you. With the team you can trust.
It's breakfast, weekdays at 6 a.m.